Good evening, folks. It's Tom Bell from the Disney Unplugged Disneyland Edition with Michael Bowling. We are outside once again, the Anaheim Convention Center for the end of day 2 of the D23 Expo 2013. Sorry we're late. We were kind of in a concert or something. A couple people were playing piano. Things got wild. Water bottles were thrown. It was just wild.
Tom was dancing on tables.
I was not dancing on tables nor throwing underwear. We just finished an awesome concert with Alan Menken and Richard Sherman. What was your favorite part, Michael?
Oh my gosh, everything about it, but probably at the end when they sang their duet together. Their two world songs. Alan Menken sang A Whole New World from Aladdin, and then together Richard Sherman and Alan Menken sang It's a Small World.
And basically, Richard Sherman came out first, played basically his whole Disney songbook. Then Alan Menken came out, played his whole Disney songbook. Then they came back out together. And that's kind of, me being the pessimist of the group. That's the only thing that I kind of wish they would have done more together.
I agree. I think we had imagined there'd be two pianos on stage.
Exactly.
Sing together.
Yes,
but
exactly.
That's why the ending was so special when they sang together.
Exactly. So that was the big finale today. We're going to kind of go backwards today. So we had the big concert. During the day, we had some smaller presentations. I saw a couple of those. One was one of the ABC actually the only ABC presentation was about Once Upon a Time. We had the creators of Once Upon a Time there with Jeffrey Epstein from D23, and they showed 19 trailer minutes of the new Once Upon a Time in Wonderland. And they also showed a scene from the first episode of the new season of Once Upon a Time. It was nice. They talked a lot about what's going on, what's upcoming this season, and for me, I would have liked to see more of ABC this year at the Expo. That's the only thing they had this year. I think last year maybe they had one or two, but the first year of the Expo in 2009. There was ABC all over the place.
Right, because didn't they premiere Modern Family then?
They premiered
several new shows, right?
Right. I think was it Lost that they premiered, something like that. They had their own conference room. They were showing premieres, getting people exciting for the fall season. So I'd love to see ABC come back and do that. The other small presentation I saw was called Voices of Buena Vista Street. And it was really sad because the room was only a third full. It was an early show. It was up against the Art of Frozen. But it was, if you go into Buena Vista Street, just like in Main Street Disneyland, you hear things coming from the windows of all the different shops. And so they had the voice actors that did those come, and they were on the stage. And there's also a radio show that you can only hear if you go into Oswald's. And so they recreated all of that, and then they came out as talked about themselves, talked about their history. Some of them had interesting pasts. The one lady on the stage, not only she do that, but she is also sang one of the songs for Luigi's Flying Tires, sang the song in Italian for Luigi's Flying Tires. One of the gentlemen is actually the voice of the Yeti at Expedition Everest.
The Yeti has a voice that he just scream?
Oh yeah, he's the growl. He's also the voice, the animated voice of the Hulk, so that gives you kind of idea of his voice.
His forte is screaming.
Exactly, grunting and screaming. One of the other guys, he's the voice of Johnny Five from Short Circuit, so that goes way back.
Wow.
Way back. But that was kind of fun. It was, I expected a little more, but you got to have some things to fill in the gaps. So let's back up a little more, and you and Craig got to see the Disney Legends ceremony.
We did. And
Craig, come on in here.
Craig, come on in here while I find my notes.
Here, let me step out. You go ahead.
The Disney Legends ceremony, for those of you who don't know, it's the time that Disney honors their past as well as their future and the people that made Disney special for us. Tom Bergeron was the host, and what was a surprise is the co-host was Bob Iger this year. And what I learned, I didn't know, is Bob Iger started his career as a weather-man.
Yeah.
So I was stunned by that. They did do a memorial, started out of some of the legends that we that had passed away since the last Legends ceremony for D23 in 2011, of course, including Annette Funicello. There are 8 new legends, started out with Tony Baxter, So I know you are a big theme park guy. So what did you think of Tony Baxter and his?
Well, I was expecting a little more from Tony Baxter's speech once he got up there. That's not saying that it was a disappointment. It was an absolutely great speech. I was there whenever, I guess I was there yesterday when he found out he was getting the window on Main Street and then becoming a legend the next day. Like, he's going through so much this weekend, and so it was kind of cool to see the aftermath of it. But, it was just, he spoke not very long. It was short. It was sweet. I can't wait to go back and listen more to see what he said, just because after that concert, I basically forgot almost everything that happened today. But
yeah, I know that he talked about like the secrets to success and how when you're 12 years old, your experiences get implanted in your head, and that's what guides you in your life. And for him, it was the experience of going to Disneyland and seeing that, and that guided him in his life as to wanting to create the attractions that he experienced as that 12-year-old boy.
Yeah, and well, that just made me remember the big highlight for most of the people in the room, and that's whenever Figment and the Dreamfinder actually popped up to congratulate him, along with Darth Vader, which I know he did have a hand in Star Tours, but it was still really kind of random considering that, Dreamfinder and Figment, they made sense being there. But it was great they were out there. He made the statement that that Figment will never leave the park.
Right.
Or leave Journey into Imagination, at least.
That's what Bob Iger said.
That's what Bob Iger said?
Bob Iger said when he talked about the mistake that they made when they took out Journey to Imagination, and he said, you people really care about your attractions.
Yeah.
And that Figment will never leave the park again.
I'm glad I had you here, because I would be just screwing this up completely right now, but
there's a lot to remember. This was jam-packed.
Yeah,
everything
absolutely.
that went on at this.
So, who was it after Tony Baxter?
It was Ed Wynn.
That's right.
And he was a comedian, and the quote that they gave for him was he said a comedian is a man who doesn't do funny things but does things funny. And we probably mostly remember him as the Mad Hatter in Alice in Wonderland. He was also the toy maker in Disney's Babes in Toyland, but of course, he was Uncle Albert in Mary Poppins. It's celebrating its 50th anniversary next year.
Yeah.
And his granddaughter actually accepted the award on his behalf, because Edwin did pass away in 1966, and she was escorted onto stage by Alice in Wonderland and the Mad Hatter.
Yeah, and I thought it was a nice touch that he finally got to become a Disney legend this year, especially with the 50th anniversary of Mary Poppins. Mm-hmm. It felt like it was just perfect timing. The speech that his granddaughter made is another one, short and sweet, but it just, I mean, for me, I forgot that he was the voice of the Mad Hatter. Like, I knew that he was Uncle Albert and Mary Poppins, but it just, I don't know what I was thinking. And as soon as they said it, it's like, oh yeah, that is like the voice that he did. And he's just, he was amazing in his own time, and I'm glad that he finally got recognized as a Disney legend.
And you can see Ed Wynn in the Mad Hatter. They definitely...
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
His facial expressions are all Ed Wynn.
Oh, without a doubt, yes. Yeah.
Okay, so the next one was Collin Campbell. And he was an animator, and he also designed attractions. He was hired by the Disney Studios in 1953. He worked on Sleeping Beauty and 101 Dalmatians. And for me, this is special because he designed sets for the original Mickey Mouse Club. In 1961, he became an Imagineer and worked on attractions for the World's Fair. He also worked on designs of the Enchanted Tiki Room, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Club 33. And he did a lot of concept art for also Disney World and 1920s themed Main Street for Disneyland Paris and Typhoon Lagoon. And so his son, Jim Campbell, was escorted on the stage by Mickey Mouse. And he talked about how, I thought this was funny. Do you remember how he talked about how much he liked wandering around the Disneyland
yeah,
Hotel.
exactly.
And looking at all of the concept art that they've hung all around the public areas of the hotel.
Oh, yeah.
And then where he said his father's artwork is.
Yeah, in the bathroom of Tangaroa Terrace,
Right.
which is the quick service right next to Trader Sam's.
Right.
So.
So it's in the men's room. So if you want to see Collin Campbell's artwork, well, just take a leak in Tangaroa Terrace.
Oh, I know I'm actually going to be heading that way at least by Monday, just so I can see it.
Really?
You know, that's one of those cool things that we found out that now I have to go see it for
Yes,
myself. So.
Definitely. I know I've been in there, but now I have to look for it.
Well, and with a lot of his artwork, it was stuff that I immediately recognized once they put it up on the screens, but I didn't pick his name out whenever I heard it. It was someone I wasn't really familiar with, but then getting to put his art next to his name, all of a sudden it just clicked. So,
Did you think there's a little bitterness in his son's voice about where the art was hanging?
you know what? His son had a great sense of humor, so I think it was more or less playing off of that. I mean, I have a very dry sense of humor, so I get exactly where he was coming. He may have been bitter, but then again, I might be bitter if my artwork was hanging in a bathroom or if my parents were. So, hey, he might have been.
Well, unless it was in the restroom of the Louvre or something.
I get that's a good point. But Tangaroa Terrace is great. I love the food there.
I do too. I know the next person you were really excited to see.
Oh yeah. The next one up was John Goodman, of course. One of the things that we know him most for is that he's been the voice of Sully in the Pixar movies Monsters, Inc. and Monsters University. And then one of the things you might overlook is the fact that, everyone knows him from Roseanne, too, as well, if they grew up in the 90s or if they were even alive during that point in time. But yeah, that was an ABC sitcom. Mm-hmm. So technically his association with the Disney company really got a start back then. I can't remember if they said he did something prior to that as well.
Yeah,
but
he's done a number of films for Disney, live-action films, that and under different Disney labels like Touchstone. Mm-hmm. So they said his career has been 25 years at Disney, which I didn't realize. He's also done a number of other voices. He was Pasha in The Emperor's New Groove and its sequel. He was Baloo in the Jungle Book sequel. He was Big Daddy LaBeouf in Princess and the Frog. And he was, of course, as you mentioned, James P. Sullivan in both of the Monsters films.
Yeah, it was really surreal actually seeing him. I love Roseanne, and John Goodman's kind of a role model for me. I don't know if he should be my role model considering how he acted on that show, but I just love him. I think he's hilarious. He seems like a really sweet guy. He seemed very appreciative. It looked like he was tearing up at
He seemed
a point in
very
time.
moved.
Yeah, he did. And that's kind of the opposite of the next person who was up, which was Billy Crystal. Mm-hmm. And, Billy's a classic comedian. That's the most you can say about him. He's a great guy, just heart of gold. And he was just hilarious during his entire induction, I guess, into getting his award. But he was making jokes about
they have a huge replica of the Legends Award, and it's enormous. And he pointed at that and he said, "I thought that's the one I was getting. This one's kind of small."
I know, it was hilarious, and he was even making fun of the Mike Wazowski that was out on the stage to greet him. Oh, yeah. I guess we forgot to mention that when John Goodman was out, It was Sully. Mm-hmm. But then for Billy Crystal, it was Mike Wazowski out there. And, he cracked a bunch of jokes, but
he's bigger in person. Have you been hanging with A-Rod?
Yeah, he also pushed the line with his jokes too. He didn't keep it family friendly, but that's always nice to see, I guess, especially when it comes to a Disney event. People always think it's going to be PG, squeaky clean, and he was definitely getting a little to the edge with some of his jokes. But
and there was a bit of trivia. His mother performed the voice of Minnie Mouse.
I would have never known that. Yeah. So it's one of those little things that I'm glad that we are there just to learn that.
But he seemed to give one of the most heartfelt thank yous out of all of the legends. He was I mean, he was just totally moved by this honor.
Yeah.
And how grateful he is to the Disney company for everything that they've done for him.
I mean, I can't say it any better than that. It was, I mean, between John Goodman and him, I was good at that point, and Tony Baxter before. Mm-hmm. I know that we still had Glen Keane after that.
Oh, yeah.
And...
Well, we had Dick Clark.
Sorry, I even forgot about that.
And we know that, of course, we all know him from American Bandstand. The interesting thing is, what a lot of people don't know is that when American Bandstand started, it was before the Civil Rights Movement, began. And so Dick Clark was a pioneer. He went against the television codes, and he changed policy and views by showing different races of teens dancing together on television on American Bandstand in the early 1960s. Of course, he produced not only American Bandstand, but television shows, awards ceremony, musical variety shows, and his wife accepted the award on his behalf, and she was escorted by Minnie Mouse in a sort of a 50s dance outfit.
Yeah, it was... I enjoyed that one as well, too. I mean, I only knew Dick Clark really from Rockin' New Year's Eve, so, I've seen other bits and pieces from him from time to time, but it was nice to get that little bit of history, at least for someone younger like me. So.
And then we come to Glen Keane.
Yeah, and I think the biggest piece of information that I wish I would have known before is that his father was Bill Keane, who did Family Circus, and, I mean, I grew up with Family Circus, reading it every day, every Sunday, and that just blew my mind that I never put together that was his dad.
Yeah, and that his father based the characters in Family Circus on his own family, so that Glen is young Billy.
Yeah.
And Glen's brother actually is continuing this strip. But Glen's done the same thing for his characters. So for him, Ariel is based on some of the characteristics of his wife, Linda. The surfing Tarzan that we've come to know is based on Glen Keane's son. Rapunzel is based on his daughter. And he says that the Beast, there's a little bit of the Beast in himself. He was escorted on stage by Rapunzel. But he's been an animator for 38 years. He's worked on virtually every animated film. And he was very fortunate that he was able to study under the last of the 9 old men that were still with the company in 1974. Eric Larson, Frank Thomas, Ollie Johnston, Ward Kimball, Willie Rutherman. So he really has carried on that tradition.
Well, it was Glen Keane who had the interesting story about how he even went to school for it, right? Am I correct on that? I don't remember.
Let's see.
One of the people we learned about accidentally became an animator. They wanted to go to school for something.
That was Glen Keane.
Yeah, that was Glen Keane. He didn't want to go to become an animator in school. Right. He just kind of, when he sent in his portfolio, he sent it to the wrong part of CalArts, and then they ended up taking him in the animation department, and he never got out of it, so he just stuck with that. So I thought that was so cool. Yeah. Like, one of the greatest animators in the past 30 years for Disney, and had he sent it to another address, he might have never become an animator. That's just so cool.
And he said that he loves to draw characters that believe that the possible is impossible. Yeah. Like, a mermaid that wants to become a human, that a beauty could fall in love with a beast and transform his heart. And that he says the amazing thing about Disney is they're the only studio that has the courage to make films that say the impossible is possible. That really was the Disney Legends ceremony. Yeah. And then afterwards, the final thing that Glen Keane said was just "Long live Disney animation." Yeah. Which sort of summed up the whole everything for us.
It did, and it was also a perfect segue into the last legend, which was also kind of the biggest one in a way. And that was Steve Jobs, who, of course, passed away in 2011. But he didn't have a family member there to accept his award. So his very close friend and business partner at one point in time, John Lasseter, actually was there in the audience with us the entire time so he could pick it up. And out of all the things we saw today, between the concert and the Legends ceremony, all the other legends that we learned about, and even the stuff we've seen yesterday, this was the absolute most emotional point of the day, I think, for anyone who was in that room.
Mm-hmm. Oh, John Lasseter immediately started crying. When John Lasseter's brother passed away, he said Steve Jobs became his brother. I mean, you could tell just how much Steve Jobs meant to him and how much Steve Jobs really guided John Lasseter's career from when he was just starting out at Lucasfilm to where he is now with Disney Pixar.
And he openly acknowledges that Pixar wouldn't be what it was without Steve Jobs. And a simple statement like that really makes you think. All the things that we enjoy about Pixar today really might not have been possible if it wasn't for his contributions and him just throwing money blindly into it, hoping everything would work out, hoping they could make classic animation. So it was great. And do you have anything else to say about that?
Well, one of the things that John Lasseter said that Steve Jobs said to him was that Steve said that, in 3 to 5 years, a computer becomes a doorstop. But John, if you do your job right, what you create at Pixar will last forever. Yeah. And I think, that's continuing the legacy of what we enjoy so much about what Walt Disney continued, is that what Walt Disney started, I should say, will last forever. And that's what we appreciate so much and why we're Disney fans.
And I feel like that statement's entirely true. And maybe if it was never said, then we wouldn't have all these classic Pixar movies that we have. And they keep churning out all these new ones. Of course, yesterday you got to see all the upcoming ones, but that statement must have really stuck with him, and he gave it along to the company because they're doing everything that Steve Jobs wanted them to do, and they're doing it great. So,
and then Bob Iger did come back on stage afterwards, and he confirmed that there will be another D23 Expo in 2015. So that's good news.
It is,
for all of us.
Oh yeah, I know I'm going to be back. There's no way. I'm hooked on this now.
Yep.
But
too.
Yeah, one other word on Steve Jobs. If you want to see the John Lasseter speech, all you have to do is go onto our YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/thediz. We already have the John Lasseter speech about Steve Jobs up there accepting his award. So if you haven't checked it out yet, definitely go ahead. There's going to be more from the Legends ceremony as well as the full videos from the concerts that we saw tonight too. So that'll all be coming as soon as we actually have time to get it up.
Craig's done a fantastic job. He's gotten no sleep just working on those videos and editing them.
Yeah, but only one more day left. But
I know, isn't that sad?
It's extremely sad. I don't want it to end, but at the same time, I do need sleep eventually.
Sleep and eat.
Exactly. But you want to move on to the big part of the day? Well, it didn't end up being the biggest part of the day for me, but it was supposed to be the biggest part of the day.
Everything was big today. And this was the opening presentation in the arena, and this was Walt Disney Studios live action presentation. Yeah. And boy, there are a lot of good films coming up.
There are, and the one thing I want to talk about is the dedication of Disney fans to these live action films. I got out there at about 5:15, and there was already probably 500 other people out waiting in line just for that. So, they were out by 3, some of them said. So, the Disney sees what their fans are doing. They're waiting in line just to hear about these movies, so that's why they're delivering all these great things that are coming up.
And every Disney executive has said how much they appreciate the fans.
True.
They've said that over and over again throughout the expo.
Yeah. So everyone.
So we are appreciated as they raise the ticket prices. Okay. Well, Alan Horn, the chairman of Walt Disney Studios, came out, and again, he acknowledged that in the universe of fans, Disney fans are a special group. The loyalty to the company is deeply appreciated. anyway, and he talked about all the acquisitions that have taken place since Bob Iger became the president and the chairman of the studios, of the company. In 2006, they acquired Pixar, 2009 Marvel, and 2012 Lucasfilm. And then they went through each of those divisions one by one. Of course, Lucasfilm, Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars, and everyone got pumped as soon as they saw Lucasfilm pop up on the screen, as soon as they saw Star Wars pop up on the screen. And then, of course, if you were following along with everything that's happened today, there was no official announcements on anything from Star Wars Episode 7.
Except that it's coming out in 2015.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And that there will be some standalone films in the Star Wars universe.
Exactly. And they did say that J.J. Abrams is hard at work writing it and getting everything along to direct it. So we'll hear news about it soon, according to Disney, but as of today, there is no new news on it.
And I want to see if somewhere in the background of the next Star Wars films, we're going to see the USS Enterprise just sort of go by really fast.
It's going to happen. It has to be an Easter egg somewhere in there.
Absolutely.
But yeah, and I'm glad that there wasn't a Star Wars announcement, just because there were so many other huge things.
Oh, yeah.
And after Star Wars, it went straight into Marvel. So went from one fanboy straight to another set.
Yeah.
But
Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel Studios, was next on stage. He talked about how Phase 1 of the Marvel films began with Iron Man in 2008, and it ended with the Avengers in 2012. And Phase 2 actually began with Iron Man 3 and is continuing with Thor, The Dark World, in November of 2013. And we got a real extended look at this film. What did you think of it?
I was blown away. Thor is my favorite Marvel film of all of them. The Avengers is great, but Thor just did something for me. Chris Hemsworth just perfect in the role. Natalie Portman, Stellan Skarsgård, like just everyone in that movie makes it so good. The action scenes are well done, and this new Thor, I'm at a loss for words. It looks ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, in the first Thor film, it was Thor who was the fish out of water as he was forced to live on Earth. In the sequel, it's actually Natalie Portman as Jane Foster who's the fish out of water as she now is sent to Asgard.
Yeah.
And of course, as is the tradition here at D23, they have the stars come out on stage, and I think we were really blown away. Of course, it was Tom Hiddleston who was here yesterday for the animation portion. He did not sing this time.
He didn't, and I was disappointed since I didn't get to see it yesterday.
But Natalie Portman...
Yeah, Natalie Portman came out. She's as beautiful as she looks on TV and magazines. It was amazing. But then the next person who walked out, I don't think anyone ever expected to see him in a million years.
And that's Odin, and that was Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah, and he didn't say much, but just the fact that he took the time to come out and see all the fans and make a presence, a stand-up move, and it got me even that much more excited for everything else that was to come.
We saw a number of clips from the film, and this looks like an awesome film. And I don't use the word awesome a lot. This really looks good.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, Loki is going to be back in the next one, and I don't want to give anything away, but he's going to have a nice big role again for all the Tom Hiddleston fans, because apparently there's a ton. I think he had a bigger applause than almost all the other celebrities there.
Yeah.
So,
unless if Chris Hemsworth had been there, I think he would have gotten.
That would have been the biggest.
Yeah. And he was there for the last expo and all that. And then, now when I was a boy, did you read comic books when you were a boy?
I didn't.
Oh,
I watched Disney movies.
Oh, okay, I did that too. But when I was a boy, you were either a DC comic boy or you were a Marvel Comics boy, and I was a Marvel Comics boy. Yeah. So Thor was my favorite, but my other favorite was Captain America. And that's the other film that we took a look at next. That in April of 2014, Captain America, the Winter Soldier is coming out. And this is a really darker take on Captain America.
Yeah, we were lucky enough to see about a 5-minute clip from it. It definitely wasn't what I expected. It's completely different from the first one, but that's also because it is taking place in our time now, whereas in the last one, it was mostly back in the 40s. And if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But
Well, you could tell the bad guys, they were Nazis. In the modern world, it's Captain America's learning you can't always tell the good guys from the bad guys.
yeah, and we got to see one extended scene of a battle sequence on a ship, and I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. I can't wait for it. I wasn't a huge fan of the first Captain America. I like it, and something about Chris Evans to me, I know he's playing this all-American hero, but sometimes it just started to annoy me. But I'm excited to see this one, actually.
Yeah, and several stars from the film came out, and of course I can't read my writing, but Chris Evans, of course, was there.
Yep.
Anthony,
It was,
who plays the Falcon.
yeah, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, like McKeel.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah.
That's why I couldn't write it down.
Yep.
And then the Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes, who actually we thought died in the first film,
Yeah.
is back. And in the first film, he was Captain America's best friend. Apparently, maybe he's not all he appears in the second film.
Yeah, there's a good chance he might not be as good as you would hope that he would be, but yeah, Sebastian Shaw is returning to play that role. So
The next one from the Marvel Universe is a comic book that actually is a bit obscure. It's Guardians of the Galaxy. And they're currently 4 weeks in the shooting, so they showed us a clip that they made when they were 2 weeks in the shooting, and they think they'll never show this again, this clip.
yeah, and I mean, I don't know how much we want to go in depth on it. I thought it looked amazing. It looked hilarious. There's
A superhero raccoon. What more could you want?
a raccoon, a tree, which was very similar to an Ent from Lord of the Rings,
Yes.
but it was like that. And then Chris Pratt, who's starting to become a star through Parks and Recreation. It's going to be a funny movie.
Yeah,
Just having Blue Swedes Hooked on a Feeling is the soundtrack for the trailer. It was too good.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah.
And then we only for 2015 we only got a teaser trailer for Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Yes.
And they showed us really nothing.
Yeah, they didn't. I mean, you saw Iron Man's helmet and you saw a couple characters, but nothing action. It's not happening until 2015. They're not worried about it right now.
But it answers the question, is Iron Man returning, since the last film made it
Sure.
sound iffy. So
Yeah.
so we did learn something from
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Good point.
So, and then the next one was Disneynature, and that the goal for Disneynature is to bring stories of the natural world to film. And this is in keeping with Walt Disney's tradition of the true life adventures. Walt Disney actually originated the concept of nature documentaries and won several Academy Awards for them. So in Earth Day of 2014, the film Bears will be coming out. This shows a year in the life of a bear family.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I've watched all the Disneynature films so far. They're always good. They always have a nice celebrity to do the narration for it. So, and it looked like it's definitely going to be one of the better ones too.
And as always, if you go to a Disneynature film in the first week that it's released, the Disney company always makes a donation to a charity. For Bears, they will make a donation to the National Park Foundation in order to preserve national parks throughout our country.
Yep.
Then came the biggie, Walt Disney Studios. And so the president, Sean Bailey, came out. And the first one was Muppets Most Wanted.
Yeah, and this was the one that I was looking forward to the most going into it. I know that the Muppets had a pretty big impact on the D23 convention 2 years ago. I was hoping that they would have a pretty big impact this one, but unfortunately they're still filming the movie over in England right now. So we didn't get a glimpse of the Muppets, but we did get to see one of the stars from it, Ty Burrell.
Ty Burrell from
yes.
Modern Family. He drove out in a tiny little Interpol car that's from the film. He plays Jean-Pierre Napoleon. He's an Interpol agent who's paired with Uber CIA agent Sam the Eagle. And Kermit and all of our Muppet friends, they are unwittingly caught up in an international crime caper. And because they're still filming, they did a satellite feed over to the United Kingdom where it's being filmed, and we saw other stars from the show, including Miss Piggy, and we saw Tina Fey,
and then also Kermit.
Right.
Yep.
And the funny thing is that Miss Piggy had them all wearing P23 shirts because she thought we're all at a Miss Piggy 23 convention.
Oh, it was great.
And the 23 is because that's her age.
Yes, of course. The clips that I saw from the movie, they looked great.
They had an extended musical number that looked fantastic.
Yeah, it was a little different because this film's going to be a lot different than the Muppets that came out in 2011, but I'm not writing it off. Ricky Gervais is hilarious. Tina Fey is probably the best female comedian around right now. It's going to be a great movie.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Then came on, it sort of seemed to get lukewarm reaction. Into the Woods. And this is for, the Muppets are coming out in March 2014. Into the Woods is coming out during the holiday season 2014. This is based on a Broadway musical that I've seen twice. And what it is it takes up where all of the classic fairy tales left off. What does happily ever after really mean? And is it really happily ever after? And so there's some big name stars in this, though.
Yeah.
The Witch is played by Meryl Streep. The Big Bad Wolf is Johnny Depp. Anna Kendrick, Chris Pine, and Emily Blunt are also starring in the film.
Yeah, it's a star-studded cast. I mean, the one thing, I didn't know anything about Into the Woods. Today was the first time I heard anything about it. The only thing that made me feel soured over it was Johnny Depp. After The Lone Ranger, he's not doing so hot. I know they're going to get him back for another Pirates eventually. Right. They didn't announce anything about Pirates.
No, not at all.
There's nothing going on with that as of now. But I just because of the cast and Meryl Streep and Chris Pine, Emily Blunt, and Anna Kendrick, I'm going to give it a chance once we can actually see more, because we didn't get to see any clips at all from it.
The Broadway musical is really good, so I have to think that Disney's going to make it even better.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they do. Yeah. So
Then it's funny, the next three films, when I first heard about them originally, I was very skeptical about them, and I came away really excited to see these next films. The next one is a live-action version of Cinderella that's going to come out in March 2015. And this is going to be faithful to the original fairy tale. And if you've read the Perrault original fairy tale, it's a bit different from the Disney version. But so the director, though, is Sir Kenneth Branagh, and we did an early look at the film at some of the pre-production of it. We did a sneak peek, and they said one of the biggest challenges is trying to figure out how to film the glass slipper.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is interesting that they are going to keep elements of the Disney version, because those of you who have read the original story know it was not a glass slipper.
Exactly.
In it.
No.
And again, huge stars in this. Lily James as Cinderella, Richard Madden as Prince Charming, Kate Blanchett as the Wicked Stepmother. The only misstep for me is the casting of the fairy godmother, and that's Helena Bonham Carter.
Yeah.
And what do you think of that?
I'm going to give it a shot, but I felt the same way as I did with Into the Woods, hearing Johnny Depp. I love Johnny Depp. I love Helena Bonham Carter. I'm sick of both of them, though. They're
in everything.
They're in everything, and it's just a complete miscasting. The fairy godmother should be someone older, even if it's not the Disney version with a blue cloak and white hair. It still needs to be someone who's more mature. And
Betty White. Wouldn't she have been a great fairy godmother?
Yeah, I think that's the first thing we said to each other whenever we were discussing it. Betty White, just get her. She's willing to do anything at this point. She's not dying anytime soon. Just maybe they can recast at the last second. Maybe. So let's hope.
But they did show a lot of the concept art, a lot of the set designs. This is going to be opulent.
Yeah.
This is going to be with one of the things that Walt Disney always said, he only wanted to animate things that they couldn't create in real life. They're going to create these lavish sets that Walt Disney and his animators drew for Cinderella. So I think this is going to visually be really spectacular.
I see it on the same scale that Oz the Great and Powerful was on, as well as Alice in Wonderland, the remake with Johnny Depp and all the other ones. But no, I think it's going to be those kind of environments, the same type of art design. It's going to look great.
Then I think the one all of us have been really anticipating, and that is Maleficent, that's coming out in July 2014. This is the untold story of the infamous villain from Sleeping Beauty. Angelina Jolie is Maleficent, and what we're going to learn here is what caused her, what drove her to curse Sleeping Beauty. We're going to meet her as a child, as when she's a teenage fairy, and how she was betrayed by the king of the human realm, and that ultimately led her to cursing Sleeping Beauty. And we're going to see everything that we saw in Disney's classic Sleeping Beauty, but we're going to see it through the eyes of Maleficent.
Yeah, and the one exciting thing that they said is by the end of it, they're guessing that we're going to be rooting for Maleficent. Right. Maleficent, not the good guys.
Maybe the three fairies that raised Sleeping Beauty, maybe they didn't do such a great job after all. Also, there is going to be the huge battle scene between Prince Philip and the dragon, but who is Maleficent. But maybe we won't necessarily be rooting for Prince Philip, or Prince Philip in this case.
I mean, I can't, just on the grounds that Angelina Jolie was the absolute best casting choice they could have ever made.
Didn't she look beautiful as Maleficent? And her voice?
Well, not only
everything.
That, but she came out on stage and was another one of the biggest celebrities we got to see today. And one of the things I liked about her compared to everyone else who showed up is that she really wanted to talk about her role as Maleficent and how much it meant to her to be a part of the Disney movies now. And not that she's just doing it for her kids, not that she's doing it for herself, but because she felt, and her sister even pointed it out, that she should be Maleficent, and she agreed totally. Right. And that's why she wanted to do it.
Right. She talked about how when she was little, Maleficent was her favorite character because it terrified her and attracted her at the same time, because Maleficent was graceful and elegant and evil all at the same time, and that's what she wanted to encompass in her performance. And I remember she talked about when children would visit the set when they were filming, and so she realized, well, I'm playing a Disney character, I should go and greet these children. And then the children would start screaming and crying, and one children said, "Mommy, make the bad witch stop talking to me."
And in the long run, they ended up having to cast her daughter for some scenes just because they knew she wasn't going to be afraid of her.
Right.
So
she said she was the only child not crying on the set.
And that's a big testament to how much she's actually diving into this character and becoming Maleficent. And the clips we saw just took my breath away.
Again, lavish, gorgeous sets. Costuming is incredible. Again, in keeping with that Disney lush animation that so many people love from Sleeping Beauty. So the next one had me completely perplexed. Tomorrowland, that's coming out in December 2014.
Well, I did follow along with The Optimist and everything that was happening following up to it. That game that everyone was playing, well, not everyone, there was maybe like 100 people playing it, but it was really interesting all leading up to the announcement of Tomorrowland and how there was all these hidden artifacts down under the animation buildings, and they pulled it out and started finding secret clues. And it was Brad Bird, and who will be directing the film along with
Damon Lindelof of Lost fame.
And they both came out on stage to kind of explain, and they didn't really just straight out talk about the movie. They're not at that point yet. They're still going through the whole it's a mysterious thing. We don't want to give away too much details yet. So they just brought out a big dusty box with some relics, including like a record but actually it had a cartoon on it, and they played that for us, and it was just bizarre, but it
was like of this future community of peace, and progress that was being built.
Exactly, but then
it was secret,
also,
and we're going to find it. We're going to discover it in 20 years.
Yeah, it's bizarre, but it does have me really intrigued in the fact that George Clooney is going to be the star, and a lot of people expected him to show up today, and Brad Bird even he screamed at the audience. George isn't showing up. So, that was upsetting, kind of. George Clooney, like him, I'll take him or leave him. But, I'll probably see Tomorrowland when it comes out. I need to get to the booth that they finally announced, too.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, there was a booth in the middle of the showroom that was just a giant blue tarp. And then they announced that at 2 o'clock after the presentation that they'd be taking down the tarp so you could actually get in closer and learn more about Tomorrowland. So hopefully we get a chance to do that tomorrow.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
I'd like that. And then I think the film we're all excited about, that everybody's been waiting for, that's coming out this holiday season in 2013. This is the story behind the story of Mary Poppins, and so they say, and that is Saving Mr. Banks. And what I think is exciting is that we're seeing Walt Disney's personal experience on the screen in time for the 50th anniversary of Mary Poppins next year. And this centers on Walt Disney, who's played by Tom Hanks.
And one thing I have to say up front, I know I was kind of hesitant on Tom Hanks playing Walt Disney. Even from the trailers, he had that Walt Disney spirit, but I just wasn't sure. After we saw the clips that we did, I am 150% sold on him.
Yeah.
He's perfect as Walt Disney.
And then also P.L. Travers, who is the author of Mary Poppins, is played by Emma Thompson. She was brilliant. Oh, the little facial tics and nuances and everything that she had. Her utter disgust for clearly what she sees as just the banality of Walt Disney and animation, his silly little cartoons, and Disneyland, and just how bourgeois it is. Oh my gosh, she just captured it in just the facial expressions. And it was just brilliant.
Well, I feel stupid for yesterday saying that Emma Thompson, I hope she can pull it off. She did. Yeah, it's...
And this is set in 1961 when P.L. Travers was reluctantly considering giving the screen rights to Walt Disney for her her Mary Poppins books. And he had been pursuing it for 20 years.
Yeah.
And so we did see a wonderful clip of P.L. Travers on her first day on the lot, where she meets the Sherman brothers. She meets Don DeGrady, who was a writer and producer for the studio at the time, and then ultimately Walt Disney. And there was one thing that is historically inaccurate. There's actually a number of things that are historically inaccurate in this film, but one is when Walt is giving her, he's serving her tea, and he says, "What would you like in it?" And she's giving him instructions as how to pour tea, and she says, "Oh, and a spoonful of sugar," and the whole audience, you could hear her go, "Oh, that is not how they got the idea for the song." Okay, so just remember that when you see the film. And then of course, then we saw a clip from the scene of when Walt Disney took P.L. Travers to Disneyland. He did not do that in real life, I'm sorry to tell you. But what was exciting was seeing Disneyland redressed for the 1960s. It was as authentic as they could possibly get it. And I remember Disneyland in the 1960s. They had where when you walked in right in front of the Main Street station, they did have the attraction posters. They really did have the attraction posters on the fence, right near the Mickey floral, design. But seeing everybody, how people used to dress up just to go casually out, and then you see how we dress today. It was wonderful. And then it was a scene of him taking her on the carousel. Again, another historical inaccuracy. Jingles was not named until a few years ago on the carousel. But still, just seeing how he coerces P.L. Travers to get on the carousel was hilarious.
I mean, you see part of that in the trailer already, but it's even better when you can see the full extended clips.
Yeah.
So.
And then, but they did bring out a couple of actors from the film. Did you want to?
Yeah, actually, they brought out B.J. Novak, who really, his claim to fame is from The Office. He plays Ryan Howard in The Office. And then they also brought out Jason Schwartzman. And Jason is playing...
Richard Sherman.
He's playing Richard Sherman. And then B.J. is playing...
Robert Sherman.
Thanks for letting me finish.
Sorry.
No, so they came out and they were representing the cast. I know yesterday we hinted that we thought Tom Hanks was going to show up. He was another no-show. But I don't want to talk about too much about what they said, but we should mention that yesterday Idina Menzel did have the big show-stopping number, and B.J. Novak and Jason Schwartzman actually had their own at the end of this. And you want to talk about that?
Sure. They came out with a piano to sing "Let's Go Fly a Kite," but they sang it with Richard Sherman.
Yeah, and they started off, and then Richard Sherman came out, and I think everyone already expected it. They knew Richard Sherman's here. He had to be. He's playing a concert tonight, but he came out, and then all of a sudden they had all the Disney entertainment people dressed up as either the chimney sweeps or just in the period attire, swinging around kites, and it was a lot of fun. And I didn't get to see the finale yesterday, but I felt like this was the perfect way to end it today. It got me excited for Saving Mr. Banks and all the Disney movies that are coming out in this next year and two.
Yeah. So now when we were in line at 5 a.m. this morning, you said you hoped that you were going to see a lot of stars today. So did your hopes get realized?
Yeah. I mean, Anthony Hopkins, Angelina Jolie, Natalie Portman, just right there. That was all I needed. And then the Disney legends again. I got to see Billy Crystal, John Goodman, like I wanted to. And actually, I think I might be wrong, not thinking correctly, but Alan Menken might have been my favorite part. Like, just, I didn't realize. I knew he did all the songs that he did, but just hearing him sing, it was breathtaking. Yeah.
I agree. It was a spectacular day today. A great day for Disney fans.
It was, absolutely. But I'm going to step back behind the camera. Tom, do you want to finish things off here?
Yeah, let's talk about tomorrow. Step this way. Tomorrow in the arena, only one thing in the arena, Disney Interactive is showing off their new video games, including Disney Infinity, Barbarossa, and tomorrow, as if, I hate to say this, tomorrow is the big day for parks fans, not as if we haven't had a lot of parks things going on. Tomorrow, Imagineering is celebrating their 60th. We have 5 different presentations about Imagineering, working with Walt, the DNA of innovation, craft of creativity, leading a legacy, and leave them laughing. Going to be great presentations. We're going to have to split those up. I don't know how we're going to get to all of them. Counter programming tomorrow is a couple of presentations about lost music, where things that were missing from movies and things like that. A presentation on the women of Pixar, Disney ambassadors, and a presentation about the Disneyland hotel history, and a screening of ESPN, their new film, The 99ers, about the Women's World Cup team from 1999. All that is tomorrow. I want to give you a little preview. Last night we talked about the Roy E. Disney presentation. I have a copy of the book, Remembering Roy E. Disney by Dave Bossert, with the foreword by Roy Patrick Disney. I have it autographed by both of them. That's fine. And this will be going in a upcoming Give Kids a World fundraiser, so you can win that, and it's fine. Don't worry about it. We're live. So come back tomorrow, 9 p.m. Hopefully, no, we should be here. There's nothing late tomorrow. 9 p.m. Pacific, we'll be here to tell you all about the happenings tomorrow that are going on day 3 of the expo. Be sure to subscribe to our, follow us on Twitter. That's twitter.com/thediz. Follow us on Livestream. Subscribe on Livestream. It's new.livestream.com/thediz. Follow us on Twitter personally. We'll have updates throughout the day. I'm Tom. This is Michael. We got Craig behind the camera. Thanks for watching. Good night. We'll see you tomorrow.